Take it away,
All right, welcome back to the Night Report podcast. I'm your co-host, Michael Broadbent. Joining us once again, Richie Schneiderite, Chris Nowleski. Guys, I hate that we have to start the top of the show after such an awesome Rutgers week with this Wisconsin game, but let's just kind of get it out of the way. God, that was ugly.
That was brutal. That was really bad. I know we just talked about it before the show, but if I didn't have to write the recap, I would not have been watching the second half.
Yeah, it wasn't Rutgers' best day on the field for sure. Wisconsin really, controlled the game the whole way, and Rutgers just didn't have an answer. And I guess you gotta move on.
Yeah, I think that game, there was an inflection point at some point in the first half where we could have been in that game. It could have been a tight game, but we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot. Like the play calling, 3rd and 5, the run to not go for it on 4th down with that was just like Greg had said something, and I know it's been highlighted by other reporters. I don't know if you guys talked about it too, but he said this is a team that you can't really win. You can't beat unless you're playing from ahead, but they didn't put themselves in a position to play from ahead either. Like they could have went for that on 4th down, possibly scored a touchdown, maybe forced another turnover, maybe forced another 3 and out, but they kind of played scared. And then the pick 6, I think, is the point at which the game completely fell apart for them.
Yeah, I agree with the pick 6. And like I completely agree also when, Rutgers had the ball, deep in the, red zone there. I really thought, they weren't going to be, I honestly didn't think that Rutgers would probably, get back there. So I for sure thought they should have went for it on 4th down, trying to get the touchdown. They got the field goal, and, they didn't have much success after that. And then, the pick 6, that definitely changed the game. And Wisconsin just ran the ball extremely well. They passed the ball well, and Rutgers, didn't have any answers. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd even say it took that long, like to the pick 6. It's probably the first drive of the game for Rutgers, and it's like, oh shit, there it goes again. Like what, second play, Vedral throws a pick, and it's just like, oh, it's all downhill from here. Like, I don't know. It just was. You kind of got that feeling as soon as that pick happened. It's like, oh, like Rutgers got the pick. It's like, yeah, let's go. Like they got a shot. Score first real quick, and then 2 plays later pick. It's like, oh, shit, there it goes. And what, 2 plays later touchdown? It's like, it's just on repeat pretty much, like over and over and over again. It seems like this happened against, who was it, Northwestern, or who was the home game? Michigan State. Like the same thing all over again, but very, very ugly.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're 4 and 5 now. We got 3 games left in the season. We need to win 2 of the last 3 to make a bowl. Maryland looks winnable. This upcoming game looks winnable, but we'll talk more about that later. But we're really having to thread the needle at this point to save the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there is a saving the season at this point. I really don't even know if there's another win. The only good news is that you're probably going against Indiana's backup this weekend. So, I mean, I guess that helps a little bit. But still, at the end of the day, like I don't know if there's a 5th win on this schedule.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I was, I guess I would say I was more confident coming out of the Illinois win. Now I'm not quite sure. I mean, there are winnable games in the schedule left. Penn State's probably lost. They got Maryland, Indiana also. Indiana. Last time Rutgers was in Indiana, they passed for 1 yard. I know the team was completely different from then, but Rutgers has a little bit of quarterback, uncertainty right now. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, I think they're all winnable games left in the schedule to get the 2 wins. But the team is a little banged up too. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
It's so bad. Like,
yeah,
the only positive, like I can really take away from this entire game is that Johnny Wangan is clearly the best tight end on this roster. And I don't think I would have said that 2 months ago, maybe even. It's just wild how much he's developed.
So have you guys seen a massive leap in terms of his abilities from training camp to now?
I mean, I think
in terms of his tight end play.
Yeah, tight end play. Yeah, I think we've always known he's been pretty goddamn athletic. I mean, arguably the most athletic person on the team, I'll go as far as to say.
Wow.
I really thought he would have been a hell of a linebacker, honestly, but I didn't think tight end was actually the spot for him, but he's proven he has pretty good hands. He's a pretty good blocker, and he kind of just bought in from Like you heard Greg say on
Mhm.
Monday or last Monday, whatever it was.
Yeah, last Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, last Monday he talked about Langan and not really wanting to switch, and then this offseason he kind of bought into the switch at tight end, and now he's thriving more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, he's been playing really well. I really like Johnny. I mean, he doesn't really play, the quarterback role as much anymore. But yeah, like you said, he has great hands. He's been blocking a lot better. He's just probably the best, and then I think Rutgers really needs to use the tight ends more in the passing game. I know a couple, no Vedral's best throws so far this season have really been, up the field to the tight ends. And yeah, I mean Langan should definitely be, more involved as these last couple games go on.
All right. So I don't really even want to talk about the game from last week much more. It was probably the ugliest game of the season, and that's saying a lot. We do have a lot of positive news on the Rutgers athletics front. First and foremost, the first ever Big Ten tournament champions, the women's field hockey team, the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. This is huge, guys. This is, as an athletic department, like, we've had some great news, but this is probably the biggest team accomplishment we've seen in a long time at Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. I couldn't believe it. The fact that it was home definitely probably helped them a little bit. It was pretty cool. It was cool to see and cool to like read about. And obviously Mark Bader, one of our Olympic sports writers, he wrote about it. It's just an interesting read. I don't think I would have had my money on field hockey winning the first Big Ten title for Rutgers though. Probably went women's soccer, but
yeah, I probably would have went women's soccer. Also, I know field hockey kind of turned the tide a couple years ago when they made the NCAA tournament, and ever since then they've been getting better and better. I honestly didn't get a chance to watch either of the two women's games on Sunday. I was not home, but I did obviously read about them, and I was a little shocked about the women's soccer loss. But they did still get a number one seed in the NCAA tournament, so that's awesome for them too. They have two legitimate, national, championship contenders here, and that's really good to see. And like you said, Mike, the program, the athletic program, we got some eyes on Rutgers now, so it's good to see, honestly.
Yeah, and I actually did get to watch both games, so maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So field hockey, kind of like wrestling, like most of the best teams in the country are in the Big Ten. So it's a good like kind of stand-in for what the national championship kind of scene might look like. So Rutgers did get pretty lucky in terms of their break for the field hockey tournament. So, I mean, you should as the number one overall seed. But Iowa, who was the longtime number one ranked team in the country, who lost in the semifinals, I believe, of the Big Ten tournament.
Yep.
They're on the opposite side. Michigan, who is the home host team, is also on the opposite side, and they're the 2 and the 3 seed overall. So that's one big break. Another big break is the other ranked seed, Penn State. They're number 4. Rutgers has beat them a couple times this season, including in the Big Ten tournament. So if things play out like the way they should, there is a pretty clear path for Rutgers to make the final in this tournament. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but they do have a pretty clear path there. But speaking of the other monumental program this year, the women's soccer team is also a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They did have a pretty tough loss. Their offense looked awful against Michigan on Sunday in the tournament final. I think they only had like 1 shot on goal in the first like 70 minutes of the game. This is another pretty good break for Rutgers, I guess. They actually have the Schiano Bowl to start the tournament. They play against Bucknell, and Katie Schiano, Greg Schiano's daughter, is actually on the Bucknell soccer team, which is kind of cool. So they play on. So I'm sorry. The one more thing on the field hockey team. They play on Friday against the winner of Delaware or Fairfield. The women's soccer team plays on Sunday versus Bucknell. I think that this loss might help because when anybody who's played sports knows when you're on a big winning streak, there's like an internal pressure to keep that streak alive. They won 13 games in a row. This might help them just kind of recalibrate and rebalance themselves going into the tournament. Like the pressure of the winning streak isn't on them anymore. They've seen that they really do need to improve some things. They might have lost, unfortunately, one of their best players though. In the final minute of the game, the Big Ten Defender of the Year, Gabby Provenzano, she got a pretty vicious challenge from the Michigan defender, and just like a knee-to-knee injury. It wasn't a twist; it was like bone on bone. So she might be dealing with a bone bruise, and I don't know if she's gonna be able to play next game, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree actually. It'd be interesting to see if they do kind of, reset batteries here and, do work on some things. I know their offense, for the most of the season, it was really excelling this season compared to, in the past. I felt like in the Big Ten tournament, it was a little more stagnant. But so, yeah, I mean, they do have to, work on some scoring there. The defense is usually pretty solid, but, with Provenzano being out, I'm sure that'll change some things there too. So you never know. Yeah. So I mean, they both have good chances this weekend. It's very intriguing with Shiano's daughter at Bucknell. I thought that was pretty cool. I saw that last night. Maybe we can ask Shiano on Wednesday. Who is rooting for or something like that. So it's a fun little storyline there for sure.
Yeah, and he'll get to watch if he wants to. I don't know if he's going to be able to, but that game will be at your SAC field. The field hockey game will also be on Livingston campus when they play on Saturday or on Friday as well.
When's the soccer game's Friday or Saturday?
So I'm sorry, the soccer game is on Saturday. The field hockey game is on Friday.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, they'll be they'll be in Indiana then.
Yeah, I'll have to watch from Blue.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's I'm an idiot.
All good.
Yep.
Yeah.
No worries.
Next, wrestling kicked off their season on Sunday. They had a quad. They won all 3 matches in the quad. They were playing teams that weren't up to the quality of Rutgers. So the results aren't surprising. I don't know if you guys want to talk about what you saw, if you were able to see anything. I think there was one really surprising result from that match against Binghamton, but we'll get into that.
I watched a little bit on the stream, but mostly Lex was covering for us. I talked to him afterwards. The one big loss was probably the Sammy Alvarez one against Binghamton. I forget what the kid's name was, but apparently I didn't watch this one, but apparently Lex was telling me the kid just got a perfect hold on Alvarez, and that was just kind of it. Before that, he was kind of stalling a little bit. Even the coaching staff was pleading to the refs about a stalling penalty, but obviously nothing came of it. In the first match, though, Sammy Alvarez looked really good. Didn't look gassed. Looked like he's actually ready to go. He cut that weight. He's at 133 now. Looks like he's probably going to have a solid season. I wouldn't look too much into this loss. I think it's just more or less like it happened. It was a perfect headlock, and that was pretty much it. The heavyweights, we can talk about that. That was huge for Rutgers. They all looked very good. Bolsack looked good. Paz, no surprise really. And then Boone McDermott looked really, really good at heavyweight. This was the first time, I want to say, Goody actually mentioned in the presser, he brought all 3 of those guys into the presser, and it might have been the first time ever that they've had 3 heavyweights up there at the presser post-match. It's no longer that weak spot for Rutgers. This is like kind of the strength almost at this point. They look good.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see how they're going to do against a tougher competition.
Sure.
We're just going to have to wait and see that one. But I mean, for what it was a solid showing for a quad. And I think they said around 3,300 fans or something like that. For a quad that had Cleveland State, NJCU, and Binghamton, it's a pretty good crowd.
Yeah, speaking of Boone McDermott, I know he won the junior college national championship as a freshman at heavyweight. And then he came in and he didn't really make much noise last year. I was kind of concerned that he might just maybe not ready for the Big Ten grind. But yeah, I was very intrigued and impressed with his performance on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he had that whole year that didn't count, quote unquote, that's huge for just getting him in the weight room, fixing like his body a little bit, fixing a little bit of body fat and muscle. And he looked really, really good. And I think he's kind of solidified himself as that top heavyweight at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we know in the past, heavyweight has been Rutgers' kind of, weakness in the lineup. So now they're kind of putting it all together. I know early in the season, prior to the season, everyone's talking about how this is, possibly Scott Goodale's best team. Top to bottom, it very well be. And so everyone has to improve as the season goes along, and we'll see how the ultimate lineup shakes out. But yeah, it was a great start for Rutgers for sure on the map.
Yeah,
and we even have some freshmen who probably will start making an impact later in the season. One being Keontae Hamilton, who's coming over from the football field. Another being Dean Peterson, who's kind of recovering from an injury, I believe.
Yep.
And he didn't wrestle last year, so as he gets into shape. But Go ahead, Richie. What were you?
No. I mean, like Lex kind of said it. He put his 5 takeaways out yesterday, yesterday afternoon, something like that. Yeah, I mean, Shawver had a major decision against the NCAA qualifier. Alvarez looked good. Seabass is Seabass, obviously. Paz is Paz. Van Brill, Kennard looked pretty solid. This is going to be a very, very good team. And even Lex kind of predicted in his 5 takeaways that this might be the best dual meet season ever for Rutgers. So we'll just have to wait and see. But this lineup from top to bottom it's pretty damn good.
And Turley didn't even wrestle on Sunday.
I know.
Seems like he's dealing with a minor injury, but
a lot of people were worried about that. Lex talked about that one too. Nothing to worry about. It's just a little ding. The whole plan was to bench him for this quad that didn't really matter at all whatsoever anyway. So they'll be fine.
Who do they wrestle next? Do you guys know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I do know that Prudential Center one is coming up soon, I believe.
Here, I got it here. They have a quad on Saturday against Clarion, Davidson, and UT Chattanooga.
Okay.
That's at Davidson
in North Carolina.
Well. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. I know Bolsack actually is from Clarion, isn't he?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. Actually, yeah.
I'm like 90% sure he's the one that transferred in from Clarion. They have a decent program down there. I don't know much about Davidson or Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga is actually okay too. This should be an interesting one. And then obviously they come back and Prudential Center. What is it next weekend?
Yeah, the following weekend. Yeah,
2 weekends.
The 27th.
Foster, UNC, and American. So this is cool. Like I don't mind the quads. I'm indifferent on them because I like to watch like one match at a time. I can't concentrate on 2. I'm slow. Yeah, so I mean those kind of suck, but at Prudential would be kind of cool. I'm sorry, this one's not a quad. This is just Hofstra and UNC. I read that wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be their first big test of the season. Hofstra is usually pretty good, and North Carolina is ranked 16th. So
yeah, if they could win those, I mean, you're talking what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-0 going into midwins. Wow, might be interesting.
Yeah, I know North Carolina usually has a good team in the ACC. They usually have a couple Jersey guys on the team. I know they had a couple in the past some South Plainfield guys, so I'm sure and they have one now actually. He's Richie junior who I've covered in the past. He's a good kid. So then Rutgers has a South Plainfield freshman now too, so I'm sure they'll link up. But yeah, North Carolina is always a pretty good team for sure.
Yeah, and they're going after same recruits kind of too. I know Jimmy Mullen, the top 2020 or one of the top 2023 football players, is also being recruited for wrestling. He took an official or unofficial, I can't remember, to UNC a couple weeks ago, and now he wants to get back up to Rutgers soon. So it's gonna be interesting to see if he attends that match over in Newark.
It seems like they're not super serious about him as a football recruit, though. From what I can gather,
it's different. Greg and crew are kind of aiming very, very high, so it's kind of above his level of play, I should say. But if I could see them actually end up taking him in the end, he's a very good player still. I just don't know how many wrestlers you want on your football team. You can't be like, I know splitting time's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not ideal if you're a football player or if you're either way. You want to commit to one and figure that out.
It seemed like they were much higher on Keontae as an actual football player than Jimmy Mullen.
And I think you can see why, hence the start
he's
this
been
past weekend.
Crazy. Yeah.
He's going to fill in perfectly for Turner as soon as he leaves or graduates, whatever.
Yep. And Shiano does traditionally love the football players along the lines. Like if you take a look, like remember Alex Silvestro, he was a state champion wrestler. He's gone after some really high level wrestlers in recruiting. Like Gerald Hodges was like a state champion level wrestler. Glenn Carson was a state champion wrestler.
It's huge with their hand placement too. Like their hands are just so good when they're a wrestler because they're so used to doing it with wrestling. And it just you don't have to. It's another thing you don't have to teach these guys. Like you teach them a little technique, but they already have most of the.
I mean, look at like Iowa's offensive line, for example. They're usually all like giant heavyweight wrestlers. So and Wisconsin too.
It works. I mean, I'm intrigued to see the Jersey Mike's Arena this week. I haven't seen it yet.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder what is an artist's rendition of what the arena looks like and what the arena actually looks like now. Did they put up a big, I don't know if you guys have been on campus since they made the announcement. Have they put up like some kind of big sticker or sign on the arena?
No, not that I've seen so far. The ticket office, like when you first walk up, like will call and all that, just says Jersey Mike's Arena on the bottom, like a big poster board or whatever you want to call it, like sticky type stuff, decal.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, you should ask Lex and see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I talked to him about it. He said there's not really much difference. I know, obviously, I'm pretty sure Jersey Mike's is in there, like in terms of food. For wrestling, they set up like 4 corner like pop up ads or whatever you want to call them, kind of like what basketball does in like the baseline. So I'm assuming they'll probably do something similar.
There'll be decals on the floor for basketball too, right?
That's what I'm intrigued by. So I don't know if it'll be on the floor, but they'll have that one that probably goes across the scorer's table as always. I'm sure that's going to be like every third one's probably like Jersey Mike's or something. I know after reading the contract and the details, like I posted a couple of them on the board. There's some interesting stuff in there. Like they have to have like a rendition or like they have to do something with the rack and make it a little bit more like appealing in the future. I think it's by 2025 or something.
Yeah, the verbiage was pretty ambiguous though. It was like significant upgrades by like a period like 5 years out.
Or new arena.
Which isn't happening.
I do agree. Like I know some people get like mad about it on the boards. If you put that arena in downtown New Brunswick, it sells out every night, 100%. But
here's the problem. You agreed to make the new arena without the football complex. Shiano would lose his fucking mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, there's no way around that. What are they? They're building something over by the train station. I thought that area was big enough for an arena. They could have made something there. Parking would suck, obviously, but
I think it's fine. Like, I think it's fine where it is. Yeah,
it would be so cool to have it like downtown New Brunswick, just because like you could get that New York City MSG type feel. People taking the train in, get right off the train, boom, arena.
Like that would be how it'd have to be set up too. It'd have to be like a multi-layer, like garage on the ground floor, like the actual playing court above it. Like there's, like you're saying, there's not enough room to actually have.
I thought that empty lot next to the train station or whatever they're doing with it now, some kind of super store or whatever. I don't even know what the hell it is, to be honest. I don't follow it as much as I probably should, but who knows?
So another big news item, moving on from wrestling and arena talk. Women's basketball. The writing was kind of on the wall. CViv is not returning for this season due to her concerns about COVID. Guys, this stinks to me. I don't know about you.
I don't really want to touch this one. Chris, this is all you.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of saw it coming. She hasn't been with the team since what was it, April or something like that, or like right after the tournament, I guess. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. She just signed the contract and everything. It's kind of, I mean, they start tonight. I mean, Tim Ebian does he's done a fantastic job. Seems like the team is energized to get the season going. So I don't really think it's affecting them too much. Maybe we'll probably find out more as the season goes on. After the season, some decisions I guess will have to be made. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely disappointing, I guess, but it was also one we saw coming for sure.
I'm intrigued how this, like someone brought it up. How does this going to affect recruiting?
Oh, you can't, like, how are you supposed to recruit right now?
Do you tell kids like, hey, like I'm Tim Bateman, I'm your head coach, sort of, kind of?
I wonder if he gets like a raise or added compensation or something like that.
I'm sure he gets like I'm actually going to file an open request for that. I'm sure he gets some kind of raise for taking over as head coach. Maybe nothing crazy, but at the same time, it's like how you can't recruit. Like you literally can't recruit because you can't reassure these kids, hey, I'll be here next year. No, it's like, will you though? Like,
right. Yeah. And the recruiting has already kind of taken a tumble the last like decade. She had like this massive class of transfers last year. Like imagine recruiting all these transfers and then not coaching them too. That's going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
Did you tell these kids that you weren't going to coach this year, or like did they know?
I can't imagine that they would come here for their 1 year of eligibility to not be coached by CViv.
Yeah, I'd be able
Yeah,
to.
a lot. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. A lot of kids come to Rutgers, to play for Vivian Stringer, legendary head coach and everything. Yeah, it's a good point for sure.
I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, I really don't know. I hate to say it, but you can't be doing this. I guess at this point it's too late. The season's starting, but I guess just let it run its course at this point, and then end of the year, just basically say, hey, like, you're coaching or you're not. Hey, we gotta figure this one out.
Yeah.
I did a deep dive into her I guess last 15 years. She hasn't won an NCAA tournament game in the last 7 seasons. She's won one NCAA tournament game in the last 10 seasons. She hasn't made a Sweet 16 since 2009, which was 13 seasons ago. She hasn't won a conference title since 2007, which was 15 years ago. Like, all her accomplishments at Rutgers are well in the past at this point. It's just a shame. And she runs this antiquated style of offense. She hasn't been developing players and sending them into the WNBA or into professional ranks very often. It's just a shame because she is a legendary coach. This is a great program and located in a great area, but it's just kind of withering away.
Yeah, I mean, women's basketball was at like the top of the Rutgers sports chain for a long time. I mean, it was
like the only program we were proud of for a while.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they still had a lot of good players, a lot of good teams. They just kind of, I guess, underperformed, I guess you could say. I mean, look at somebody like Benija Lady and WNBA, or Clay Copper just won the WNBA Finals MVP. So I mean, they've had a lot of good players, but it's kind of underperformed for sure in the past decade or so. Yeah.
I don't know at this point. Like, I hate to question stuff like this, but you kind of have to as like reporters at this point, or journalists, whatever you want to call us. Even the fan base can question it a little bit too. I know, like, we don't know the exact reasoning. And if it is like the COVID thing, or like she's scared of COVID, then I mean, you coached all last season long when it was like at its worst point. Like, it's
when there was no vaccines available.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little questionable. There's got to be a reason behind it. And my real question, I don't think we'll ever get an answer to this, but when did she tell the administration that this was going to happen? Like, did she just tell them, like, what was it, 3 weeks ago when they reported she's going to miss the season opener? Or like, I don't know. You have to question it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like the nicest way of putting it, I feel like. There's not really.
Yeah, she signed her contract. It was reported April 14th, April 15th. And she's been on leave ever since. It's like the whole situation is just very strange.
Like, why sign the contract? Unless there's a revision in there, which we don't know about. But I feel like Keith, Sarge, and all those guys are probably reading it 24/7 over and over again, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's kind of the major question point too, with the contract. And then she has been with the team. I know she has some family issues. I mean, I don't want to get into like all the medical stuff, but it's definitely a very weird kind of situation for sure. Yeah.
But it's just so weird to sign the contract and then like, oh, I'm not coaching anymore, and it's like, what the hell you mean? I get it. Whatever. Use your sick days. You can, like, be lying if, like, I didn't use sick days in the past. Like, hell, this past Saturday I used one.
Yeah, same.
I mean, I don't know if there's much more we can really talk about on this, but it's definitely something that we'll watch and see evolve.
I had to monitor it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, to cap this, the first game is tonight for women's basketball, Tuesday night, 7:00 against St. Peter's on BTN Plus.
We're going to have the post-game video too, because I'm going to be on that just because I'm curious what questions will be answered.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
Some football news items outside of the preview. Got some injury updates. Aaron Crookshank's out for the year. That looked like a pretty bad knee injury on the replay. It's probably an ACL at least. Noah Vedrill's banged up. Greg kind of commented that he probably should have taken Noah out earlier in the game. Now he's kind of up in the air for his availability on Saturday. It would really suck if he's not there. Guys, are you hearing anything else regarding injuries for this week?
No, I think Noah plays at the end of the day. He basically even said it in the presser. Like, I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I told you guys this, guys, before we started this. Like, the backup quarterbacks suck. Like, they are bad. And that Saturday was more proof. And Greg kind of even reiterated it on Monday, saying like, hey, like no one knows the playbook the best, knows what we want them to do the best. Like no one else is ready. And stop, like the whole idea of throwing Wimsatt against the number one defense in Big Ten, just that was, I said this last podcast too. I'm not tooting my own horn right now, but like Wimsatt, putting him against the number one defense in the conference isn't going to help against a pass rush that was dominating your offensive line for the most part. Like, I don't know.
Yes, somebody texted me, while the Wisconsin game was going on, he was like, "Well, why don't they put Wimsatt in?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, you can't put Wimsatt in this situation. You can't do it." Yeah, but yeah, going back to Cruikshank, yeah, that was a tough break. You know, he stepped right, tried to go back left, and his knee just completely gave out. It didn't look good. So I thought for sure that he was going to be out, and he is.
The other issue with playing Wimsatt is if he sucks, all this, you're about to sign all this, like all these recruits in this 2022 class. If he sucks even a little bit, they're all going to start reconsidering. They're like, oh, wait, that's the quarterback I'm supposed to play with? Like, that's the star? Like, oh, never mind. Hold on.
It's that much harder to recruit transfers as well, which is probably going to be a big emphasis of the offseason.
Yeah, I know we talked about this last night, Mike. Well, a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit into a potential transfer item in a few minutes. We did get a commitment on Saturday from, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Kier Price. Yeah.
Kier Price from DePaul Catholic. We kind of alluded to that. The writing was on the wall there. Guys, what are we getting in Kier Price?
Honestly, like he's a little bit on the shorter end, but Rutgers has these short interior defensive linemen that are successful. Look at Julius Turner. I mean, he's not that small, but he's smaller. I think
Shiano's had a history of those shorter linemen performing well, from Eric Foster to Ramil Meekins. List goes on and on.
It's a very good late get. He's a former 4-star. He got downgraded a little bit. He struggled over the past year. He added some bad weight. He moved from defensive end to the interior. Now I think he's playing defensive end again for DePaul. He's kind of turned a little bit into muscle. He's really got like a strong motor. Like he's nonstop almost every play for DePaul on defense. The only question I have about him is that, like, if you watch his tape, every single snap, instead of going straight, like, or underneath the guy, he's just stands up and then pushes. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But like little stuff like that you could teach. Considering it's signing day is a month away from today or tomorrow, whatever it is. It's a pretty good late get, like December 12th, 13th or something like that. I think it is signing day. So the fact that you're getting a kid from the Big North, number one, DePaul Catholic, school that you don't recruit very well in the past. And then he's a good prospect. He's a good late prospect, and they need an interior defensive lineman. And it's a good get. There's nothing else to it, really.
We had a pretty good contingent of recruits at the game on Saturday, from what I can gather, from Ellis Robinson, who's a top 2024 prospect. We had Samaj Bridgman from Archbishop Wood there. He's a top 150 prospect next year. What'd you guys hear from the recruits? Did they have collectively a pretty good time? I know the result is always something the fans care much more about than the recruits. It's more about like getting to know the coaches and seeing everything on campus. What'd you guys hear from some of the recruits about the visit?
I mean, Alex and Ryan put together the Inside the Banks this week, posted today with all kinds of reactions. Samaj Bridgman, I know I talked to quite a bit. Ryan talks to him a lot. So he's basically down to Rutgers and Penn State. It's been like that for a while. So it's really like a top 100, top 150 kid, whatever he is exactly. That's a big one. He's probably going to take more visits before any decisions. Teammate Marcus Dixon, high three-star tight end. I think he might be a 4-star actually. No, high 3-star. Came, he enjoyed it. There's a couple quotes from him. There's a couple 2023s, 24s, 25s even that like showed up that are going to be studs, like Stone Saunders out of Bishop McDevitt in Pennsylvania. He's going to be so goddamn good.
Is he a quarterback?
Yeah, quarterback prospect. Who's the quarterback that played there that went to Wake Forest? I can't remember.
He was on QB1.
Yeah, the QB1. Rutgers recruited
Tavon Bowers. Yeah.
Yes, Bowers.
Yeah,
Bowers.
So
he's at that school. He's going to be really good. To get him on campus as early is huge. Other than that, let's see. Oh, Jason Jenkins is one to watch. 2022 defensive end, who's probably an interior guy in the future. I think he's already like 260, 6'5", 6'4", 260, something like that. He came for
He's at a Notre Dame high school, right?
Yep. Type 1 Underwood alum.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's an intriguing prospect. We talked to him, got a little insight. Rutgers hasn't offered yet, and I'm not sure if they will or not. It seems like he was BC's to lose at this point. But then Pitt came in. He reminds me a lot of Kmart memes, like a late bloomer, tall, lengthy defensive end. He's got to learn some technique. He's a little raw in that aspect, but he's just huge. He's 6'6", 260. Like he's just a big, massive defensive end or defensive lineman. Playing at Notre Dame's not the biggest school in the world, so that's kind of gonna hurt his recruitment a little bit. He didn't really blow up, but he did gain. He had a massive weight gain, I was told, from junior year to senior year this past offseason, and that's like the big reason why he doesn't have many offers. But obviously, you saw Pitt, Boston College, and Indiana and Temple saw him recently, and boom, offer. And it's like, all right, well, take a look at this kid. If he comes on a visit in December with like some of the other commits and recruits, I could see Rutgers landing him if they offered, like very easily. It's just a matter of if Rutgers wants to offer him or not. Limited class, just got another defensive lineman in Price. So it's like, I don't know. It's up in the air right now, but very good prospect overall.
That's awesome. Transfer portal starting to heat up. We've kind of mentioned that and alluded to it recently. I think we have our first example of a guy that we're actually going after, though. So Joshua Moore, he's a receiver out of the University of Texas. He announced his transfer last weekend. He got into some argument with Steve Sarkisian and then almost immediately landed in the portal. He was a former top 150 recruit out of Texas. He's 6'3". He had a pretty good season this year and last year. He would probably be our best receiver next year if we ended up landing him. I know you were talking about doing a little digging on this kid. What have you heard about him?
Nothing crazy so far. I'm still learning. He's very underweight. I think he's like 165, 170, something like that. It's 6'1". That's like, it's like my like weight and like adding 5 inches. Well, I take that back. Adding 3 inches. Yeah, no, he's an intriguing receiver. I think that's going to be a big selling point for Rutgers. Is like you just mentioned, he would be probably the number 1 receiver here at Rutgers. The fact that they are losing Bo Melton, Shameen Jones really hasn't stepped up. Cruikshank's always going to be that slot guy. He's probably never going to be a true number 1. Plus, he's going to be recovering from an injury now, which looks like was probably a knee injury. So we don't know how he'll recover. So yeah, I mean, the transfer portal is going to be a huge selling point. It's going to be like, hey, you can come in, step in day 1, get a 4-star quarterback, I wouldn't sell the line at all. Get a couple of decent tight ends and Kanapka, Langin, et cetera, and then you have decent running backs too. It's like, hey, you're going to have play under Sean Gleason, who's produced quite a few NFL prospects between his time at Princeton. Probably sell like the Chubba Hubbard thing too a little bit because he did coach.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I know it doesn't apply to a receiver, but it's still another guy in the NFL that you coach. So it's going to be interesting. I think that like they're going to land a pretty good wide receiver in the portal. I don't know who, but maybe Moore's it.
I agree. And late November, early December is kind of the sweet spot for the transfer portal. So keep on the lookout for posts about that. And we'll definitely keep talking about that over the next few podcasts because it's about to get exciting.
It's going to be hectic again. I hate it.
Definitely. One of the last things that we kind of earmarked to talk about regarding football before we move on to basketball. There's been a lot of game day problems this year for Rutgers. We had one post that kind of summed it all up by Cranford Night this week. We can just kind of go through these one at a time and you could talk about them. Like the ticketing situation in general, from the ticket app to the lines to get in the stadium, is a horrendous experience. Like we had people saying that they didn't have their barcodes from the Scarlet Knight app to actually get in the stadium. The lines are backed up. They're just letting people in droves come into the stadium without even showing their ticket. Like this is a disaster.
They need to do something. I get it. You want to move to the 21st century, but like it's just god awful. Like do something about it. Everyone's going to request printed tickets next year. I'll tell you that much. Like it's getting to the point where it's like this is ridiculous. Like stop. Yeah. If it's not working, either hire people or do something. Hire more people.
Yeah. I think you definitely should have had an option to print out the ticket. And
They did.
Oh,
You had to
they
pay
did. They
for it.
did.
Yeah, you had to pay
Okay.
for it extra. You had to go out of your way to request it. It wasn't like
Right. Okay. Right.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
there you go. I mean, like that's ridiculous itself. I know. I think there was a problem like nationwide with like StubHub or something over the weekend. So I think that had something to do with it. But I know early in the season, I remember seeing lines just waiting outside of the gates.
For the first game, there's like an hour long line. Like
yeah, it was just bad. It was bad. So
insane.
yeah.
Another thing is, I think, a general student attendance problem. And early in the season, freshmen, like, you have nothing else to do. I remember being a freshman at Rutgers.
Mhm.
You were just kind of like guided there from your orientation to football games. That's the easy part. Getting, juniors and seniors who have been there for a while, trying to watch a shitty product in Rutgers football the last decade. Like, do not, like, these Gestapo cops that wander through the different lots giving tickets to kids. It has to end. Like, do we want a real home field advantage? We need students. The rowdy students or drunk students. Like, who gives a shit? Every school in the country has drunk kids in the stand. Why is it a problem at Rutgers and not everywhere else?
I don't like. I remember growing up, like I was younger, and I used to go to the games and to be like, "Oh, look, that's the little student tailgate. Like, that's wild. I can't wait to do that." I got to college. I'm like, "Where the hell is it? What happened? What the fuck happened? It's gone."
Yeah, they had like one game where they had the alley, and it was like a complete mob show, and one kid throws a bottle.
Cool idea. You can't endorse it, obviously, due to like insurance policies and shit like that. But at the end of the day, like I think my theory was pretty good. Like Pike goes to all the frat houses or whatever, sorority houses, goes like one by one, buys them pizza. Hey, come to the game, have fun. Like, doesn't give them anything, just like pizza and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like endorse it. I want Shiano going house to house, handing out like under the table, like here's a parking pass, or even you could probably do it over the table. Probably, I don't think there's anything against it. Just give out parking passes back. Hey, here's 3 for your frat. Here's 3 for this frat. Here's 3 for that sorority. Just make sure they're all like together, so it's more of like a student tailgate. Yeah, are the cops still gonna be a problem? Probably at the end of the day, but it's not that hard to hide alcohol, really. I'm not endorsing that, but
I mean, but they go through. I remember being in the blue lot. I've had to show my ID there. Like, they just go through and wander, and the people with cups, they ask for ID. They don't even know what's in the cup. They're just
it's football.
They're overstepping.
Like, it's a tailgate. Just let it go. Like, it's not that as much. The kid over here is like puking his guts up or like acting stupid, walking into cars and stuff. All right, then you take him away. Other than that, it's college. You act like college kids don't drink.
Yeah, they should be. The only reason they should be there is to respond to incidents. If there's a fight, if somebody passes out, if there's some kind of danger to the public, they should respond. They should not be going looking for problems, which is currently what they're doing.
But now you see the student section affected by it. I saw a picture the other day, 15 minutes before the game, 5 minutes before the game also. There's, 100 people there maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it's bad.
Like, are most people going to try to like stay out and like keep drinking? Of course they are. But you're still you could double, triple, quadruple that even just by having student tailgate like type thing.
Yeah. And then like, I mean, this doesn't have to, I guess it kind of has to do with students too, but I know like after the press conference last Saturday, Shannon was, I guess, making sure the fans, came to the game. He posted, a couple of videos during the week about it, and like no one came still. So I mean, yeah, Rutgers needs to, have the product in the field to make them come. But at the same time, like they still need the fans, at the stadium to help them. Rutgers has had a terrible home record the last, year or two, specifically compared to on the road. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but I mean, surely, the home field advantage is as he says, his only home field advantage when the fans are there, making noise and everything. So
I honestly, and I like Kick. I know a lot of people aren't fans of him on the board, but he brought up a really good point. It's like, let students drink and tailgate. If girls go, guys follow. If frats go, girls follow, then guys follow, then the social crowd follows. Like, it's very, very simple. It's a simple concept. I don't know. They got to do something next year. I do think that maybe it was a little tough this year just because people are still getting back to normal and all that stuff. But at the same, like, next year, you have to like do something to get these students on board from day one.
I mean, like a place like Rutgers is very different than like Nebraska when there's like a billion things to do. But
yeah, it's also so far from campus. And like, if you're gonna start your pregame on College Ave, why am I gonna like I don't know, be tipsy or be like half in the bag and be like, I'm going to try to find a bus to get over to the stadium. Oh shit, I don't know. Maybe make the buses more like readily available. Put them in more locations. Put them right out. Hell, go pick them up at this point. Do a free like shuttle service or something. I don't know. They kind of do, but it's like it's shitty.
It's usually a mess.
Yeah, winning will solve a lot of these problems, but if you're trying to actually, you don't want to also do things that will stifle that in any way. Like winning will help so much, but don't get in your own way, which is kind of what we're doing on a few fronts right now.
Yeah,
but
like someone else said it. And I hate to like keep rehashing everything and talking about this topic, but someone else said like, yeah, is there going to be a headline college kids drunk? No, like yeah, there's going to be more drunk college kids at the game. Who cares? It'll probably be louder than half the stadium at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the sound comes from people who don't yell to sit down on third down, which is the fucking student section.
I got yelled at for that at the Giants game a couple weekends ago. Like, dude, it's third down. Like, I'm 3 rows ahead of you. Number 1, there's a gap. Like, number 2, it's like it's third down.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta stop.
All right, let's go into basketball primer. Men's basketball opens tomorrow night versus Lehigh. They play 4 games in like the next 10 days after that. I'm so excited for this. You guys have to be pretty fired up to talk about a team that's supposed to be pretty good this year and kind of carry that momentum into your coverage. We did post a thread asking for some questions. I figure we can go through those now. And then we could talk a little bit more about the basketball team kind of organically through all this stuff. Yeah, so the first question we got was from Are You Bird. He wants to know who will lead the team in 3-point percentage and field goal free throw percentage this year.
Ooh.
So you go first, Chris.
Yeah. Honestly, this might be a little bit of a sneaky pick. I'll start with free throws. Actually, I'll start with free throws. Free throws will go with Caleb McConnell. He led the team last year. He's been really consistent from the foul line. I think a healthy Caleb will be able to do more things in the court, and he will be able to get to the line more and convert those, and better free throw percentage overall for the team only helps the team. As far as 3-point percentage, I did think about this a little bit. A sneaky pick. I'm gonna go Paul Mulcahy.
Ooh.
I know he doesn't take a ton of threes, but when he does, he's been knocking them down pretty well. In practice that we saw a couple weeks ago, I know it was obviously one practice, but he shot really well from the corners. Another option. I mean, I'll leave it at Paul there. So you go ahead.
See, you're stealing my pick, man, for 3-point percentage. I was gonna if I have to pick, I'm gonna pick someone else just because you picked Paul, but I do think Paul will probably lead the team in 3-point percentage. Gene Jones, probably my other option.
That was who I was gonna go with.
Yeah, like I said, he went 3 of 3 in a game against Villanova. Which one was the first one? Villanova,
yeah.
3 of 3 from 3. So it's like he's not strictly a 3-point shooter by any means, but he's pretty good at it. So it's like if he's open, make him a spot up shooter from time to time. I'll go with him, but Paul's gonna be right there. It's gonna be 1 and 2 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless Ron can keep up what he started last year and kind of.
That's the third option, because all I've heard about Ron is he's like really dedicated himself this offseason. If you look at some pictures of him, he does look like he's lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah, most definitely.
He's my pick for 3-point percentage. Free throws, that's tough because we didn't really have many great free throw shooters last year. I'm trying to think who they sent to the line for Tex. I think they would send Gio there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Gio for that. Seems like he's got the most trust. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's probably yeah, you're probably right. It's probably Gio or Caleb, one of those two. You guys both hit them. So I mean, maybe Ron, maybe.
Yeah. Next question's from Redline HW. Why did Jacob Young leave?
Basically, I'm a little shocked he left in the first place. I didn't think he was going to. There was some, I don't know what you want to call it, animosity between players last year. I think that's pretty clear based on board post and based on like everything we've heard and read. I thought he'd go pro. I really thought he'd go straight to the CBA, play with his brother Joe Young, go make some pretty good money. I think Joe Young actually just won MVP at the China League, or was it most improved player, one of those two. I forget what it was, MIP, MVP, whatever. He's pretty damn good over there. Figured Jacob would just follow, but I do think he wants that one last chance to try to make the NBA. He's one of the quickest guards in the country, if not the quickest. So if he could be more consistent, not turn the ball over as much, maybe he has a shot at the G League, but I don't see it happening. We saw Corey Sanders not even get like barely any run in the G League, and I thought he was better than Jacob. So yeah, that's pretty much all we're gonna say on the transfers, or on Jacob at least.
Yeah, he kind of gave me, I'm a Sixers fan, so he kind of gave me a little bit of a Jimmy Butler vibe in terms of his presence on the court. Like his intensity seemed like it might have rubbed some people the wrong way because it wasn't.
No, I mean, it's a vibe. Like that's like how some players are. Look, Jimmy Butler sucked with Minnesota. I shouldn't say sucked. He was very good. He just wasn't the team guy in Minnesota. Goes over to Philly, maybe not as much either. Then Miami, it's like, oh, holy shit, this guy's like a leader. This is weird.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Our next question's from EJ Gons. He wants to know who our predictions for the breakout player on the team is, and also if we're hearing anything on 22 recruiting.
How many times do I gotta say it? Jaden Jones. I am sticking by this one. I'm sticking to my guns. He is going to be a phenomenal player. You guys are gonna watch the game tomorrow and you're like, holy shit, Richie's a genius. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right. So I'll switch it up here. I'll go Cliff O'Murray. I know.
Cop out.
Yeah. I mean, he played a good amount last year. He was also hurt. And, it's his freshman season. From what I know, he put in a ton of work this offseason. He's gotten bigger. He's worked on his outside shot also. So I mean, they're gonna need him to stay out of foul trouble and stay healthy. But I think Cliff O'Murray has a bright future and a bright season ahead of him, this year.
2022 recruiting. Are we posting this today? Do you know, Mike?
Yes, I'm gonna post it this afternoon. Yep.
Okay, perfect. If we're gonna post it today, tomorrow's signing day. Woolfolk gonna sign. Simpson gonna sign. They're gonna save a scholarship for spring. They technically have 2 left. I think actually 3 left if you count Ron leaving.
Okay.
Because Ron's not coming back. Like, I get it. He's technically a junior, quote unquote.
Right.
No shot he comes back. I already talked to him about this in preseason, blah, 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 or whatever. Move on. I would look for a kid to reclass, or Mongolian Mike, who's still available. I mean, he did take an official visit, yes. If you get him back on campus, I think he replaces Braden Moore, and ironically Moore. I think he's a better version of him. Yeah, I mean, other than Mongolian Mike, they hosted Gus Yalden recently. He's very high on the program. He loves Steve Peichel and crew. He's a potential guy I could see reclassing. I know he's down at IMG right now, I think it is.
Seems like he had a falling out with the Wisconsin staff as well. He's from Wisconsin.
That's a little intriguing just because I forget if he's a Wisconsin or Nebraska native. I think he's a Wisconsin.
He's a Wisconsin native.
Yeah, so the fact that staff's kind of falling back a little bit. He's not the best big man in the world because he's a little undersized at 6'9", but I tell the people this all the time. You don't need to be 7 foot to be a good center anymore. Like it's fully proven.
Especially if you can shoot like he can.
He could shoot, he could dribble. If you watch Jokic play, he's just a shorter version of Jokic. They call him.
He actually, I don't know if any of you guys follow him on social media, but he dressed as Jokic for Halloween
costumes. Spot on, spot fucking on. Yeah, no, very, very good player. He would probably be the first big man they've ever had that could shoot like that. And I think Ralph G will kind of stretch the floor a little bit to that mid-range game. But if you get Gus, he will stretch the floor all the way to the outside at that point. He can do it all. But,
well, will Gus get into fights like Jokic does on the court? I don't know if you
oh my god, that was pretty scum. I mean, the Morris twins are known as like dirty players, but what he did in response was pretty dirty.
Yeah, no, you definitely can't be doing that. But at the same time, like you're up 17? Why are you like hacking? Like so play devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah, at half court too. Like
half court, down 17, and you're just gonna fucking run up and like hack them and. Yeah, the little shoulder drop was a little scummy too, but it's like, come on, what are we doing? Like, stupid.
Yeah, for my breakout player, I'm going to also go Jaden Jones. I've said this to you guys before. I think he has the highest upside on the entire team in terms of if you were to tell me somebody on the team was an NBA first-round pick in a year, it would be Jaden Jones. I think his game translates the best to the NBA given his size. He's put on like 30 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Like, given he's listed at 6'8", I think he might be a little shorter than that. If you look at the team photo, Paul's actually taller than him. Paul's listed at 6'6", so they're probably both around 6'7". But his size and his shooting ability translates to the NBA the best of anybody on the team, in my opinion. Aforementioned KYK asked, when do KenPom rankings begin to take shape? 1, 2, 3 months in? I don't know if you guys have any kind of understanding of how KenPom really works.
Yeah, it includes a lot of different analytics. I'd probably say 2.5 months in, just because that's when you kind of get a couple of the bigger games and bigger matchups through, and then obviously it updates after every single game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you probably have to wait 2 months in, because then you'll see like the classics. They'll get through some of those. They got some of the preseason tournaments that are, I think, start tonight actually.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. So once you get through all that stuff, once you get through the ACC Big, the Gavitt games, all that other good stuff. Once you get through all that, you're kind of see where everyone starts to lie and where everyone's starting to go. You obviously won't know too much because it's not conference play, and conference play guys tend to beat the hell out of each other. Look at the Big Ten, for example. But yeah, that's pretty much it there.
Yeah, and that's also when like strength of schedule stuff starts to kick in. Like it's tough to really have a good understanding of how good your team is when you're just playing like powder puffs for 9 games straight with like the occasional big out of conference game.
Yeah, I mean that's no comment on that one.
Greg Moore 23 wants to know how big our core rotation will be this year.
Depends on the game, I guess. That's I don't know, because there's 1, 2, 3. There's obviously a starting 5 of who I think is going to be Gio, Paul, Caleb, Ron,
Cliff.
Yeah. Ralph's going to have to play some minutes, so that's 6. Mawat Mag's going to get significant minutes. That's 7.
Hyatt,
8. Jaden Jones 9.
Yeah, I mean it could get up to like 9, 10. Well, yeah,
I think in preseason it's tough to say, because I think in I don't know, actually. This is a tough one. I don't know this one.
I'd agree that it's probably
I think it will depend on like the game and the matchups, foul trouble, everything like that. Absolutely, but yeah, I think
injuries as the season goes on.
9 probably is probably. I mean, Pike likes to play a good amount of guys and keep guys fresh too. So
it's also who's going to emerge from this young group of players between Miller, Reber, Palmquist. One of those guys will probably emerge as a contributor. It's just we don't know who yet because they haven't actually stepped onto the court for significant minutes.
Oops, my bad. Knocking everything over. Yeah, my bad. I had to run out real quick. Stupid Amazon guy. Ringing the doorbell. What was the question?
Just about the core of the rotation.
Oh, we're still on that one. All right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because in the UConn game, it was Mag, Hyatt, then Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, if those 3 are going to play, then you got to include a G. We're already at 9 people, and it's like, do you really want a 9-man rotation? That's a lot. Like, I guess if they're good enough, yes, but I don't know. I would have probably put Hyatt and Jones over Mag, but Mag's, I guess, probably your best defender, maybe, of the group.
Yeah, and Miller's a good defender too. So I mean, the non-conference will probably tell us a lot more than what we know now too. So it's definitely. I mean, nine's a good number, I would say. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'd say 9. Yeah. That's probably the ideal number.
And we didn't get this last season with the out of conference schedule. Like this is going to be a time where a lot of young guys see some minutes. They get some acclimation to the college game. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we're going to have a good idea of what the core is until probably Clemson and Seton Hall, the out of conference games that are the only tough ones we have, which kind of leads us in. We've had a lot of questions about, season prediction, record predictions out of conference. So let's kind of package all those together.
Yeah.
The out of conference, we play, I don't know how many games, between 10 or 12. 2 of them are the actual good games between Seton Hall and Clemson. Clemson, we all know because we played them in the NCAA tournament last year. Seton Hall, we all know because they're our rival. What do you guys think we do in out of conference? Do you guys think it's a clean sweep? What's your prediction for record?
I think it's hard to kind of predict a clean sweep. I mean, you never know what can happen. I would say probably, 10-1. Probably. I think there's 11. 10-1. I mean, maybe lose to Seton Hall. But other than that, Rutgers
Ooh.
will be. I mean, I don't know. It depends. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to complete. It's hard to project to complete. There's a lot of factors. I don't know. I mean, I think they'll beat, the NGITs, the Lehighs, the Merrimacks, and everything. But Seton Hall. I mean, I guess I would pick Rutgers to win that game. But I would just say it would probably be the closest game out of the other ones, and then other than like DePaul or Clemson, also.
Yeah, I'm looking now. I mean, Lehigh win, Merrimack win, NJIT win. DePaul's probably the first real test.
Mm-hmm.
Late Thursday night game, middle of the week. Coming off 2 days rest after NJIT.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably their worst game setup right now for out of conference, and then obviously Clemson. But Clemson at home, I think you should win. You'll have that atmosphere. I'm actually surprised that one's not sold out. I know it's a Tuesday night at 9 p.m., but it's probably your biggest home out of conference game. Actually, it is, yeah. That I can see.
I'd imagine it will sell out too, especially if things go how we expect. If they're 4-0 going into that game.
I mean,
6-0.
I know. I mean, just from my wife's side of the family, I know Hanukkah starts around that time.
Okay.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it. So.
It's a 9 o'clock game too. Like, it's not ideal because you're probably not getting home till 11, 12. If you're
Yeah. That, you know what? Yeah, it's a good point. 9 o'clock games are rough. Absolutely. That's rough.
I'm surprised there's not more tailgating at basketball. I know it's a football thing, but like you have the overhang. Like,
well, it's tough for the weekday games too because a lot of people are coming right from work or picking up their kids from school and driving to the stadium or driving to the arena.
True.
A lot of the students still are parked there too.
Like this Saturday versus Merrimack. Like that's a
I mean, maybe like the earlier. I mean, I've seen tailgating for wrestling at the rack a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think it's a different atmosphere too. I think wrestling fans just are big football people too. It's like
and then I mean also obviously in the winter it's a lot colder too. So
very true.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Seton Hall is as good as people say. I do think they definitely got arguably the best 3-point shooter in Jameer Harris in transfer Jameer Harris this year. I think even Andy Katz rated him number 1 in 3-point shooting, so that's going to be a tough one to defend. They have a good big man. I think I forget his name. It's not Obiagu, right? Oh, you guys might not know. I don't know.
Not sure.
I don't know. I pay attention to way too many college teams at this point.
Yeah, I got way too much going on to pay attention.
Yeah, they're a decent team, so that's probably going to be their toughest matchup. The only good thing is I think Seton Hall has a pretty tough schedule, so that's going to be it's going to be helpful. Yeah, they play Michigan on the 16th already. They play Ohio State. And then I think Rutgers might be their next one. Oh, and then they play Texas, then Rutgers. So they might be coming into this game with 2-3 losses. And I kind of like against 3 Big Ten teams, if you get 3 losses versus 3 Big Ten teams, I think that kind of shuts down the narrative that like Seton Hall's the better program.
It's a lot different than Rutgers non-conference schedule.
Yeah, no, a lot harder. And then Rick Pitino right after Rutgers too. Like I give them credit. They do play quite a few good teams in their out of conference. But then their conference schedule is a huge drop off compared to Rutgers conference schedule. So it's like it equals out.
Yep. So in terms of out of conference, anywhere from 8-3 at worst to 11-0 at best.
Yeah.
Looking like the record.
I think 10-1 is probably pretty realistic.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we dropped one of the games between DePaul, Clemson, UMass, and Seton Hall and win the others because UMass on the road during the week too.
And then being back on the rack will help.
Oh, sorry, that's the Saturday games.
Yeah.
I just don't think UMass is that good either.
Yeah,
they were good last year. I don't know how good. I think they lost their top player, didn't they?
I'm not sure. We seem to have one game a year where on the road, especially, we just lay an egg. Like we had Binghamton a few years ago. We had that one game against some. I think it was a team in New York City where we played at like some old arena and we lost on like a Saturday game.
Fordham. Fordham.
Nick Honor was good.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, according to KenPom right now, Rutgers is rated below Clemson and Seton Hall for now.
Yeah, so I was right. Trey Mitchell, their top big man, who averaged 18.8 and 7.2 last year, transferred to Texas. So it's like they're not the same team by any means. They're going to struggle. I think they have a new coach too, actually.
Okay.
No, Matt McCall.
What do you guys think for conference record? I think let's set the over under. We're playing 20 conference games this year.
Is that what it is?
Right?
Yeah.
I think so. So let's set the over under at 9.5. Do you guys think we win fewer or more than 9.5?
I'd hit the over. I'd hit the over pretty confidently, actually. I think this team's better than last year's, and I think there's no denying that. They're different. Yes. They lost their best interior defensive big man. Yes. But Quiff's still pretty damn good. Quiff's developed a ton. I think he's going to be a monster in the paint, whether it's on offense or defense. I think already he's a better offensive player than Miles was. And that's going to pay huge dividends. Then you bring in a guy like a G who's going to switch it up a little bit and play around that mid-range type area. And he's a hell of a rebounder. So, I mean, this team's going to be so much different. They're going to be a lot more fast-paced. And, yeah, Jacob Young probably would have fit a little better, minus the whole, like, off-the-court stuff. He probably would have fit pretty nicely with this year's team. But at the same time, they have a lot of weapons. We just talked about it. It's 9, 10, 11 deep, arguably, in this team. So it's like, I like this team a lot. I do think they're going to be a top. I gotta be careful here, actually.
I think they finished the season ranked. I think this is going to be Pike's best team. I think we win also more than 9.5 games. We do have a brutal schedule, though. We have to play Illinois twice. We have to play Michigan twice. We have to play Purdue twice. Those are the top 3 ranked teams in the conference. We got to play all of them twice.
Illinois, without a doubt, is winning this conference, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they're that good. They're very, very good.
We got Kofi back, which was a surprise, but they lost AO.
AO hurts, but Curbelo is going to take that leap that he's going to already kind of taken already a little bit. He's been a hell of a player. He's going to dominate the league. I know Andy Katz put out his top 20 Big Ten players. Rutgers had 2 of the top 10, which is huge, but Illinois had 4 of the top 20, and it's like, oh shit, like pretty good.
Yeah. I'd probably go the over there. They do have a tough schedule, absolutely. I think the fans at the JMA, I guess will help. I know it's not like it's weird like saying that.
So gross.
Yeah, I mean, bowl prediction piece coming out soon. I have Rutgers as I have Rutgers finishing in the top half of the Big Ten and the 6th seed in the NCAA tournament. So I'll definitely take the over on that Big Ten prediction there.
I thought you said bowl predictions. I was like, damn, talking about 2022 already?
Bowl for hoops. Yeah.
It's possible, sort of.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I you know what? The more I look at it, what was Rutgers? It's predicted 7th, 8th, something like that?
Oh yeah, around that area. Yeah, I believe so.
I'd say as high as 6. It's pretty good, if not higher. I think 6 is pretty good. It's a good guess.
So season predictions. This one's tough because it's not like it's football is much easier to predict in terms of like we'll go 4 and 8. We'll do this. We'll do that. Like basketball, play 30 plus games. The NCAA tournament's ultimately like a lot about how you match up against your first 2 opponents, and then just how much magic you can catch, lightning in a bottle. I think we're going to make the Sweet 16 this year. That's my prediction. I think we're going to finish top 5 in the Big Ten. I think they're going to be a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think Jaden Jones leads them in scoring per game this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm coming out hot.
I think it's pretty on par with Richie there with Jaden Jones there.
Hey,
I'm super high on Jaden Jones.
Good. I'm telling you, watch his tape. He can do it all. He can dribble. He can shoot. He can drive. He can shoot from the outside. He can score. He can dunk. He's lengthy. He can play defense. He was one of the best defenders at the Pangos All-American camp, whatever you want to call it, like 2 years ago. Had a whole season of working out with the team, gaining muscle, doing all the off the court shit that you have to do. These kids are in the gym 24/7 between him, between Cliff, between Jalen, between I don't know because Gio and Ron really don't post on social media as much, but those 3 do, and it's like every single day you go on Instagram I guess Instagram on their Instagram stories. It's like 5 a.m. gym. 6 p.m. gym? Wait, is that the same day? Oh, wait, 5 a.m. gym again. Wait, what the hell? Like, these kids are nuts. Like,
yeah, and you got to think of like what plays well in the NCAA tournament. It's experience, it's shooting, and it's guard play. And we have all 3 of those things hypothetically. Like, we have a ton of experience. We should be much improved as shooters. Like, I think our Achilles heel might be free throw shooting again, but that's kind of to be seen. Who knows how much they've actually improved in the offseason. I'm intrigued to see like this rotation just because
this is literally like I know we said it last year, we say it every year almost. Basketball is non-positional now. But now you have Jaden Jones that can guard and play 1 through 4. Paul Mulcahy that can play and guard 1 through 4. Caleb McConnell can play and guard 1 through 4. Ron Harper plays 3, 4, can even dribble like a guard at times. Gio plays 1, 2, maybe even 3 at times off ball. Andre Hyatt, I don't know what he is. He told me he's a guard, but I don't know about that one. But
I think
2, 3, 4, like Alpha G, 4, 5. I don't know what Oscar is. He's like a 3, 4, 5. Mawat Mag, I don't know what the hell he is. I thought he was a forward when he came in. Now he's playing backup guard at 2, 3, 4. It's like, what the hell is this team? Like, they can all interchange. Pike's got to be crazy with these rotations. Like, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. You're going to see some rotations. You're going to be like, what the hell? Why is Mawat Mag? It's going to be like a tall, lengthy, like, you're going to have 6'7" Paul Mulcahy, 6'6" Mawat Mag, 6'7", 6'8". What's Caleb? 6'7"? Caleb 6'7".
Yeah,
Jaden Jones 6'7", 6'8". Cliff 6'11". Like that. There's no one shorter on the court other than a 6'7" guy at some points, I feel like.
Gio is the only guy who's probably
like
under that.
6'4". Yeah, Miller's like 6'2" or so, 6'1". Yeah.
And please give me an all 4-star lineup. I just want to see it, just so I can tweet it out. I'm trying to think. It's Paul, Jaden, Hyatt, Harper, Cliff. All 4.
Ron was a 4-star as well.
I think so.
But whatever. It's pretty cool.
So do you guys want to throw a season prediction out there?
6.
I don't know.
It's all you, Chris.
I don't know about record, but I was never a big, record predicting guy. But I'll just say, top half of the Big Ten, make the NCAA tournament, over the 9 wins that we talked about in the Big Ten, 10-1 or so in non-conference. So I'll leave it at that. I think the team plays extremely well. I think I think they'll be ranked. I think they'll maybe even surprise some people based on how they played in the scrimmages so far. So yeah, I mean, I think the team will play really well. The chemistry is there, this time around. The front court depth is question, is a question mark. What happens if Cliff, gets in foul trouble? Can AG really, take the reins? Is Reba ready to play? Free throw shooting is another one. Shooting is another one. But I think those 2 things will be improved. They have to, be better at rebounding this season. That was one thing that really they did really well. In Pikel's first years, last year not so much. But I think just being back, quote unquote normal season with fans back from Skyway at the games, I think that'll be a big boost for everyone's morale and spirits and everything. So I think it's just overall, I'm excited for the season. I'm always excited for basketball season more than football season. Honestly, I like just watching. I like to just watching the games and writing about basketball a little more in general. So
when a team's as good as they are, like, it's hard not to be. I know, even if you're not a basketball fan, like, just a team that's coming off a tournament run, arguably almost 2 tournaments in a row, which probably should have been, but whatever. Maybe going on 3 tournaments in a row, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a fun year. It's gonna be a fun year for Rutgers basketball. It's gonna be different. Like I said, it's gonna be fast paced. Yeah, that's all I really got.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to have a big time atmosphere at like almost every game with almost all of them being sellouts. It wouldn't shock me at all if every game ends up being a sellout, given how many we've already secured this season. But yeah, it's gonna be a great year to be a Rutgers sports fan outside of a football fan.
Yeah,
but even this promise moving forward. But speaking of football, we do have a game to talk about. We've been avoiding doing this. Playing Indiana this week. Indiana is 2-7 on the season, 0-6 in the Big Ten. They're riding a 5-game losing streak. They've had a fucking brutal schedule this year. They're pretty bad overall, especially given their quarterback situation. They're 103rd in the FBS in turnover margin. They're 101st in sacks. They're 119th in total offense. They're 117th in scoring offense. Guys, what do you think about Indiana? Do you think we got a chance? What's going on?
No. Just no. If you look at their schedule, like, yeah, they're 2-7. Lost against a ranked Iowa, ranked Cincinnati, ranked Penn State, ranked Michigan State, ranked Ohio State, ranked Michigan, and barely lost to Maryland. So that gives you a little hope. If they can be competitive or win against Indiana, maybe there's hope against Maryland. But I don't know. I don't see it. Rutgers has struggled with mobile quarterbacks in the past, and it does seem like their current quarterback, Donovan McCulley, who a former 4-star athlete on Rivals, is our 4-star quarterback on Rivals, is that threat that dual threat that Rutgers always seems to have trouble with. Former top 100 kid. He didn't look too bad against Maryland a couple weekends ago, but then looked god awful against Michigan. But again, it's a Michigan team, so that's what ranked. I don't even know what they are, 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just not confident in this game. I think morale's down. I think that you can probably read into a little bit of like the message board banner that there's probably a little bit going on, whether it's in the locker room or players, coaches, etc. I know you can't read too much because the coaches won't comment on it, and they'll probably never get a confirmation on it. But the fact that how many young guys started or how many new guys or backups started this week, it's probably pretty telling that there's something going on, whether it's a dispute between players and coaches. One of the nicest kids in the world, and Mike Tverdov, was suspended for the game. And it's like, what the hell? Like something's going on in the background. We don't know what. Defense has been awful. I think morale down overall, and people are just, it just turns into fighting at the end of the day. If you're not winning, like it's going to turn into fighting, but no matter who it is, whatever it is, I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm definitely indifferent about this game. Indiana hasn't had the best season that they've, I guess we're maybe expected to have this season, coming off of last really good couple years. Like you said, they did have a tough schedule. Quarterback Penix has been out. But yeah, I don't know. I think obviously I know I touched on it earlier in the podcast, but the last time Rutgers was in Bloomington, they passed 1 yard. That game just did not go well. I hate to bring that up again, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends.
They might have their backup, like.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Rutgers. I'm not sure who's Rutgers is going to play in terms of its quarterback. I'm not sure who's going to play in terms of Indiana's quarterback. It's a must-win for both teams. I guess more of a must-win for Rutgers. They still have a chance at a bowl game. Generally speaking, but. Rutgers has played a lot better on the road than it has at home. That'll give you some, little bit of more of a chance there. So yeah, I'm not sure what the outcome's going to be. Both teams have been, definitely struggled at times. So definitely be an interesting game for sure. It's I was actually looking at the weather too. It's going to be like pretty cold and windy. I did the sim this morning. I'm not going to reveal what happened in the sim. Yeah.
I know you texted me about it.
Yeah.
Yikes. Big yikes.
Yeah. So I think they have a chance here. Indiana, their quarterbacks suck. I think on the season, the quarterback McCulley, he's got like 30 attempts for like 14 yards or something like that. Wait, let me look at the stats exactly, because I just had it open. So he's got 38 rushes for 58 yards on the season. He does like to run a lot, but they haven't had much success on the ground. Their offensive line's not good at all. They allow a lot of sacks. The team in general is only averaging 3.3 yards per carry on the season. They do have a few interesting weapons on offense. Stephen Carr's their lead back. He's basically their bell cow. He's getting almost like 80% of their touches. He's averaging 3.9 yards per attempt on the season. He's got 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. Peyton Hendershot's probably their best player. He's their tight end.
By the way, I feel like he's been there for like 20 years, Peyton Hendershot.
Yeah, he's a great receiving tight end. He's the 9th grade tight end on PFF. He's got 475 yards and 4 touchdowns on the season. They also got a pretty good wide receiver in Ty Freifogel, who was really good last season.
DJ Matthews is underrated too. I know he doesn't have many stats this year, but he's a very underrated player.
They have one really good impact defender. His name's Micah McFadden. He leads the team in tackles for loss and sacks. He's a linebacker. But yeah, I think they have a chance in this game. Just given that they do have pretty big deficiencies, even though they happened against good teams. I think Rutgers has an opportunity. Like you said, they play better on the road. They're in the midst of just like getting their ass kicked for 4 weeks straight without a bye. They've just gotten dominated by teams. You got to wonder how much motivation they're going to have coming into this game, given Rutgers does have something to play for, and they don't. We'll see. I think it's going to come down to how Vedral plays, honestly. If he can play and he can not get knocked out of this game or beaten up too much, we stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean it's basketball season in Indiana right now.
It is in
Yep.
New Jersey too.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but like this game's just not a good matchup. I don't know. Like Carr's not averaging crazy numbers rushing, but 600 yards and 6 touchdowns basically tells me that he's probably going to run for 100 yards on Rutgers at this point. The rush defense sucks. Unless Rob Smith is not coaching Sunday or Saturday, then maybe they have a shot. Side note, I can't see him being brought back. I know his contract ends at the end of the year. It's so bad. It's brutal. And it was probably the most questionable hire of the staff too, just because fired at Minnesota, fired at Arkansas. I know it's probably like you do like you pick your connections and kind of go from there, but like it's just not working. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'd be surprised if he's brought back as well. But it sounds like he's pretty close with Greg. Like it sounds like they do all their film breakdown together and stuff. So
Demote him? I don't know.
say.
Hey Frazier,
Yeah.
you want to be DC? Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably next man up. I would have to assume. Experience. He's done it before in the past. It's been co-DC.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's get into predictions. We're going to go around the Big Ten. There's 6 Big Ten games this week. First game is number 9 Michigan playing at Penn State. Penn State's a half-point favorite in this one. I mean, Penn State's tough to beat at home. They've been playing better than they played Ohio State really well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think they pull this one out. I think they win at home. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna go Michigan in this one. I don't want to pick Penn State, so I'm gonna go Michigan. I think Hassan Haskins has taken over the running back room there. Michigan beat Indiana last week. They got the bad taste in the mouth after losing to Michigan State, and I'll go Michigan.
After watching Deshaun Dotson set a record last week for 240 plus receiving yards, I mean, I think it's hard not to bet on Penn State. I think Penn State pulls this one out. Michigan's down. Blake Corum's not healthy. Doesn't sound like he's going to play. Michigan's missing a couple other dudes. Eric All, their top tight end, he's going to play, but he's not fully 100%. And then I just don't think Michigan's that good. I think if you shut down their run game, I think it's kind of game over. And when you're losing your number 2 running back, all you have to do is really shut down Haskins, and they don't really have. I think their third string's out too, actually. So they're going to struggle this week with injuries. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it's going to be a close one that Penn State pulls out.
Okay. Next game is Northwestern at number 20 Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a 23.5-point favorite in this one. Wisconsin, I looked this up. It was their last week against Rutgers. It was their biggest margin of victory in a Big Ten game since 2011 when Russell Wilson was the quarterback. So they don't tend to win games in the Big Ten by that big of a margin. This is a pretty big margin to cover against Northwestern. Wisconsin's still not that good. They're like the Nokia brick phone of this season. Like if you can keep everything in a certain direction and you don't, I mean, if they could just stay on script, they're going to just wear away teams, like kind of like erosion. I think they win this game, but I don't know if they're going to cover by 24 points. I'm going to say they win by more like 17.
Okay. I'll go Wisconsin covers this one. I think that I think they're just rolling a little bit. Won like 5 games in a row or so. I think Wisconsin's just hitting its stride. The defense is obviously nasty. I think Northwestern doesn't really have anything going for it on its offensive side of the ball. Graham Mertz played a lot better last week against Rutgers, even though he still sucks. And so I'll go. I'll go. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only busting his chops. So I'll go. I'm going Wisconsin though in this one.
He still sucks. He had 3 touchdowns last week and still isn't over 500 for the touchdown interception ratio.
Oh my god.
6 touchdowns, 8 on the year, 8 interceptions on the year. I think Wisconsin wins barely, maybe 7-10 point spread around there. I'd probably go with, but I don't see 24 points at all. I know it's weird to say. I guess Northwestern's better than Rutgers.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Clearly,
they beat them right head to head. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. I think Evan Hull is a pretty good running back. Stephen Robinson, we saw dominate the Rutgers secondary. I don't know if he dominates the Wisconsin secondary because they're pretty damn good, but I could see like a 21-7 game, something like that, something weird, basic.
So the next game is Purdue is playing at number 6, Ohio State. Ohio State's a 20.5-point favorite in this one. I mean, Purdue's been playing really well this year. They've beaten 2 really good teams in Iowa and Michigan State. I mean, Iowa was ranked number 2 at the time they beat them, so maybe not really good. But the Michigan State win last week was very impressive.
Yeah.
Purdue's given Ohio State problems in the past. I think Ohio State wins this one, but 21 points. Yeah, I'd probably pick them for 21 points. I think Ohio State rolls.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I would say if this game was at Purdue, I would kind of put Ohio State an upset alert. But I'm gonna go Ohio State with this one. But I would say that Purdue gets under the 20, beats the spread. So
I don't know, like Purdue unranked against a ranked team kind of makes me want to say Purdue, but we know that's not happening this week. All they have to do, hear me out, put a cornerback on David Bell. Game over. Purdue sucks. End of story. Ohio State wins. 20 points, 20 plus points. I'll actually take that and run with it. They've been destroying teams. I know they struggled a little against Penn State, struggled a little bit against Nebraska, even though Jackson, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Smith, Najibba. Yeah. He had a huge game too. I think he had 240 receiving yards against Nebraska last week. So, I mean, I just think if they shut down David Bell, Purdue's kind of screwed, and that's pretty much it.
The next game is Minnesota at number 19, Iowa. Iowa's a 5.5-point favorite in this one. This one's tough. Purely because I was playing at home, I'm going to go with Iowa here. But Iowa is probably the biggest fraud in the top 25, in my opinion.
Yeah, this one's intriguing. I was actually, very surprised last week when Minnesota lost to Illinois. Iowa last time only beat Northwestern by 5, and that was I think that was at Northwestern. So I'm gonna go Iowa in this one. I think Iowa win. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Trey Potts is out, right? Still from Minnesota. Grayson Potts.
Sure.
all right, yeah. I'm pretty sure he's out. I might be wrong, but yeah, Iowa's kind of overrated. Iowa's home, which helps. 3:30 matchup in Kinnick. It's like I don't know. This is gonna be an ugly.
So he is out. He's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's out for the season. It actually shows a snowflake on the weather report. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, but snow, Iowa, running back out for Minnesota. I guess you got to go Iowa with this one. They're going to sneak by. I don't think it's going to be close by any means. I mean, I think it's going to be close by. I don't even know what I'm thinking. It's going to be a close game. Put it like that. I do think Iowa sneaks this one. I don't think they're going to even touch. It's 37 over under. I don't think they even touch that. I think it's going to be ugly, ugly football. And welcome to the Big Ten on Saturdays in November.
The final game before the Rutgers game is Maryland playing at number 8, Michigan State. Michigan State's a 13.5-point favorite in this one. If you guys took my advice last week, you could have gotten Kenneth Walker at plus 600 odds for the Heisman. He's at plus 450 now. Still a pretty good bet, in my opinion. He's not the favorite. Bryce Young's still the favorite. But I think Kenneth Walker's only going to continue to rack up stats. This is going to be a game where they try and get him a ton of carries, get him more into the conversation. He had 136 yards last week and a touchdown and 20 yards receiving. I see Kenneth Walker touching close to 200 yards against Maryland, 3 or 4 touchdowns, really just feed him as much as he can actually handle in this game. I think Michigan State just rolls over Maryland.
So do you think the loss for Michigan State, though, hurts his chances?
I mean, anytime you lose, it hurts your chances.
Yeah.
But I don't think it hurt it that much. I think that moment, if they still find a way to go 10-2, like there's been plenty of examples of guys, especially in a year where like nobody's really stood out of winning the Heisman. Like the year Tim Tebow won it, Florida went like 9-4. When Lamar Jackson won it, they went like 9-3 at Louisville. Like it's definitely doable if there's no guy who's like a Joe Burrow that season. You know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, I'm definitely with you here. I'll go Michigan State in this one, covering. I think Walker has a big game. Maryland's pretty bad against the run. They're almost on par with Rutgers in terms of giving up rushing yards. So definitely I'll go Spartans in this one.
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, Mike, I do think Kenneth Walker probably runs for like around 200 yards, maybe not exactly over, but I do think he'll get his like 150 or so. And that's pretty much all you're going to need against this Maryland team that's been struggling. They're, again, missing, I say this every week, they're missing their top 2 receivers in Demas and Jones. They still have Raheem Jarrett, who's still pretty damn good, but I don't know. They're just not a good enough team. Tally has been struggling a little bit. He does have 18 touchdowns on the year, which is impressive nonetheless, but yeah, I mean, I think Michigan State rolls. They're kind of pissed off about that loss last week, and they're going to try to find a way to sneak the Rose Bowl at this point. I guess they could sneak the Big Ten championship too. Still, only 1 loss.
Yeah, no. If Michigan State wins out, they go to they represent the Big Ten East, because I think they still have to play Ohio State.
Yes. Okay. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, they do. And they play Penn State too. So, I mean, that's, if they win out, they're in pretty much.
Yep.
Interesting.
So they still have a ton to play for. With how the college football playoff works, you really just have to like state your case every week.
Yeah.
Like, look at Cincinnati. They're winning every game they have put in front of them, but they're only winning by like 8, 10, 14 points. And that's been affecting their placement.
Yeah, it's definitely struggled, especially after beating the shit out of everyone else, pretty much.
Yep. So the last game of the week, Rutgers at Indiana. This line has crept down a little bit. Indiana opened as, I believe, an 8.5 point favorite, and now they are a 7.5 point favorite. I think it's really going to depend on how fired up Rutgers is coming into this game. If they find a way to motivate these guys and convince them, they still have the pen in their hand, we need to win 2 of the last 3. I think Rutgers could win this game. Now, do I think Rutgers wins it? Probably not. I think they'll cover the 7.5, though. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I do think that Indiana's skill position players are better than Rutgers, but I also think Vedral is a little bit better than their quarterback situation. I think their defense isn't very good. I could see them winning this game. I'm not calling for it, but I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I was very indifferent about this game. I'm not sure, honestly, where to go. There's a lot of injuries, on the Rutgers side. I'm not, too sure about. But you know what? I'll be positive here again. I know didn't seem that way earlier, but kind of, changed my tune a little bit. So I'll go Rutgers win this game on the road. They play a lot better on the road. Yeah, I think Pacheco has a better game this time around. The offensive line kind of bounces back, and the defense kind of comes together and gets the win.
I can't do it. I just can't do it after watching this team last week, watching them against Northwestern a couple weeks ago. I mean, this is the same team that even struggled against Illinois, who's also not good. Against Illinois' what, 3rd string quarterback? No, Peters played.
No, Peters is back.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just I can't keep my mind off of it. There's obviously some like fighting in the locker room or something bad happening in the locker room, whether it's coaches, players, like I said before, or something like that. There's little tidbits on the message board from people that are connected, that are probably more connected to me, that have relationships with players and coaches, posting about it nonstop. It's not pretty. I think team morale's down. They're trying anything at this point. They're putting in new starters along the entire defense. It looks like Trey Avery went from lockdown god last year in the slot to arguably the worst corner on the team.
Yeah,
a lot of young guys in the secondary now.
He barely played last week. I was looking
10 snaps.
Yeah,
Patrice Renee is not even playing.
Yeah,
I'm assuming he's injured or something, but I don't know. I think that they're just going to kind of try to mix in a lot more young guys, because you can still use them and save their red shirts. Try to get them more snaps. Get them ready for next year. This Indiana team's not bad. Like, they're not the worst in the world. They're 2-7, but 6 of those losses are against teams ranked 10 or higher. I think the only one that wasn't was or 18 or higher. Sorry, because Iowa. The rest are 10 or higher that they've lost to, and then obviously the one Maryland game. But Rutgers has struggled with mobile quarterbacks. I said this before. Donovan McCulley's probably their starter, leading rusher last week for him. Threw for 250 or 240 against Maryland. I can't see it. I can't do it. Like, I don't think Rutgers wins this. I think Indiana is not going to roll, but I do think Indiana will probably wins by a touchdown or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's at this point in the season, it's all about, in my opinion, motivation.
Kill the morale on the podcast too. Like, geez.
Like, how does a team like Illinois go to Penn State, beat them, lose to Rutgers at home, and then go to Minnesota the following week and beat them, who's ranked 20th at the time? Like,
I don't know. such a weird
college. It's college football.
It's college football, but I think it's also like these coaches need to connect to the players and get them in a mindset where they're like 100% into the game. If you're not 100% into the game, you see what happens with Penn State, you see what happens in Minnesota.
I don't get how you lock down Chase Brown. Chase Brown went for 250, then 35, then 223, then 60 against Rutgers, then 147. You lock him down, but then you can't lock down, I don't even know, it's a Malusi or actually not even Malusi, it was Allen too.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Allen, if you look at Allen, he was huge.
It just doesn't make sense to me. Like how do you, and then the third string came in and looks pretty damn good.
Yeah.
How do you like struggle so much against certain teams and then all of a sudden it's just like if they have like the slightest bit of a passing attack, they're like, all right, play back. Let them run. Like what? And then it's like, all right, sell out for the run against Illinois. Look at that win. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm ranting at this point. Plus, you don't even know if you have your starting quarterback. There's no way.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
And it's clear as day that the two backups just aren't there. They're not there yet. Or if they'll ever be, who knows?
Yeah.
Yikes. I feel like I'm watching the Giants. But they got to win.
God.
They got to
but they got the win this time. Yeah.
They shouldn't have, but they did.
I was gonna say it's almost like not helpful to get wins at this point if you know your team's bad. Like I'm an Eagles fan and I'm every time they lose, I'm cheering because their draft pick situation for the 22 draft, like they could have 3 top 10 picks. Like why are you gonna win? And Jalen Hurts clearly isn't the answer. So
well, that's why last night, if you would have saw me on my couch, I'm like screaming about the Bears. I'm like, lose, you bastards! We have their pick. Like, lose. Thank God.
Yeah, they pulled it out for you guys. So congrats.
Or
we've had a super.
Watched the refs pulled it out too.
Oh my! The refs have been god awful this year, especially with that taunting. I feel like the taunting call in any game is like the ultimate. Like if the refs got money on the game, they could call taunting on like any play.
Yeah.
Who made up that rule? Like what the fuck? We can't.
So believe it or not, John Mara was one of the biggest proponents for the taunting rule. Like that was an ownership thing. Like if you've heard him talk about like bringing sportsmanship or whatever back into the NFL, like the ownership of the NFL wanted there to be taunting as like a point of emphasis. It's fucking stupid, but that's what they wanted.
Like he's the worst, man. I hate him. He's the same. He's the only reason we have Gettleman still, and it's like hog moments. Yeah, fucking 4 years, about 45 offensive linemen, and all of them still suck.
Yep. I was excited when he was. Yeah, I was excited when he was talking about all the offensive line, and it's not fixed.
I'm gonna start up a Giants podcast.
There you go.
It could even be more sad than this podcast.
Ouch. This one was,
in terms of the subject matter.
That is depressing shit we talked about today.
Not all.
I will say again, we'll bring it up. You know, NCAA tournament starting up soon. Women's soccer, foot hockey.
Yeah, all the good
basketball starting, and we're good. Wrestling
signing day,
signing day is coming up.
Yeah,
tomorrow's all the Olympic sports. You get all the good players, all the wrestlers, the baseball players, etc., etc.
I got my. You know what? Fun fact. I cover high school tennis. Two of the best players in the state are all going to. They're both going to Stanford. It's interesting.
Ouch.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, unless you're a Rutgers fan.
Oh well, there's no men's. So there's no men's.
Oh, it's men's. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I know most of the good players go to like all the Ivy Leagues or something.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right,
guys. This has been a supersized episode. I want to thank you all for listening, guys. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see how this weekend goes, but expect more action-packed pods in the upcoming weeks and months because we're gonna have a lot to talk about on a lot of different fronts. So we will see you guys next week.